All right, so this is my Secret Invasion episode 1 review. And so it starts off with Everett Ross having a meeting with Prescott, with another agent who is really sounding like your typical conspiracy theorist of trying to convince Ross of this huge conspiracy put up by the Skrulls to take over the Earth because Nick Fury and Carol Danvers promised them 30 years ago that they would help them find a home, and they never did. Well, Carol's too busy patrolling Kree Skrull space to be of much help, and I guess Fury had absolutely no idea what to do. But they seem to be blaming it on the blip. The blip happened, 20 years later? So they still had plenty of time. It's not like it's only the fault of the blip. But anyway, so Prescott suddenly lunges at Ross because he figured out that Ross is a Skrull. Now, of course, at the time he's doing this, we don't know that. We're just thinking that he's completely off his rocker, completely paranoid. And of course, he ends up getting shot because, yes, if he were a Skrull, you probably would have gotten the upper hand, but this Skrull carries a weapon. So he gets permadead. And so Ross runs out and he's asking Maria Hill for an extraction. So she's helping him find a way out because he's being chased by a Russian. A Russian, and at first you think, okay, there was something more to why he was in Moscow, that's why this unnamed Russian is after him. Now, he kept yelling something, and I assume it was in Russian, but there was no subtitles. So whether it was Russian or it was the Skrull language, we don't know. But anyway, so he's chasing after him, and he misses his leap and falls to his death. So we think, oh, so we're going to immediately start off with someone, a character that we all come to like dying. Well, it turns out he's a Skrull. And the person who killed him turns out to be Talos. So, things are obviously getting crazy. So, Maria decides to call in Fury. And this is on Talos' request. She calls him in, he comes. He's not wearing his eye patch for, I can only assume is that he's worried that somebody's already impersonating him. So, and they assume that he's wearing his eye patch, so he's just not going to wear one, is my assumption, because why else are you not wearing an eye patch? And so he comes down. He has a bum knee. He meets with Maria, who takes him to see Talos. And they're talking about what's happening. And in the middle of it, Fury's like, yeah, I need to go for a walk. Oh, yes, and Talos told him about his wife told him about his daughter, which I thought, that they were pretty close and that he was up on the space station with him. I mean, not constantly, but doing a back and forth. Apparently not. So, he decides to take a walk, and you could see it in both Talos and Maria's eyes that they were right. He's just not the same Nick Fury. The blip really affected him, and that he's not taking this seriously. And they're just completely underestimating Nick Fury, as is the next character we're about to meet. So he's taking a walk and he runs into this couple making out. He runs into this little girl playing ball in the street. Now it's dark outside, so I could get the couple, sitting on a bench making out, because that you can do that at any time. But a little girl playing in the street with a ball, that seems a bit far-fetched, but okay. So he's walking, and suddenly a couple of men kidnap him. It turns out it's Sonya Falsworth and two thugs from MI6. And he's telling her that, oh yeah, I wanted you to take me. I knew exactly what was going on. And she doesn't believe him. And if it weren't for the fact that he planted a bug in her owl's eye, I would probably have agreed with her. But so he plants a bug, and they have these niceties. Now, she gives him something other than bourbon, and he even calls her out on it. It's like, you used to know that my favorite drink was bourbon. And I'm just like, okay, she screwed that up. And you're not questioning if she's really who she says she is? Or is he, out thinking himself, thinking, oh no, a Skrull would know that. So this has got to be the real deal, and she just forgot because it's been so long. Because, what? You're being told that Skrulls can impersonate anyone and are invading, and you're taking it at her word? But then again, he did bug her owl, so maybe he figured that either way he'd find out the truth. So he asks her about this attack in Kazakhstan and what was taken, and she feigns like she doesn't know what's going on, and he knows she's lying. So, and she doesn't want to partner with Nick Fury because he let her goons take him, and she doesn't think he's ready for the fight, that the blip changed him, that it broke him. And now that seems to be the theme. Everyone seems to think that Nick Fury doesn't have what it takes anymore because of the blip. And yeah, like I said, I think they are all underestimating Nick Fury. I do not think that, I mean, obviously he's still having issues to deal with. I mean, he's still a human being. But I don't think he's, as bad as people say he is. And given what happens at the end, oh, he's totally in with both feet, and people are going to seriously regret that they did that. But anyway, so they're listening into Sonya's conversation with, I guess, another member of MI6. I don't know. And so it leads them to Poroshin, who is going to be giving one of the Skrulls dirty bombs to, so they can continue their terrorism and make it seem like it's, a typical American terrorist group, or maybe Russian terror. It's in Russia, so probably American. But anyway, so they decide to go and, Fury decides to go and question this guy. And he's like, but there's going to be MI6 people. Yeah, we'll incapacitate them. And Tal's like, I don't want to do that. And Fury's like, oh, stop being a baby. That's basically it's like, people think you're way too compassionate. Gravik thinks you're way too compassionate, which I would love to know what his history with Gravik is, because he looks like he's about the same age as Gaia, and Gaia was just a baby when we last saw her. Well, a little girl when we last saw her. So, and oh yes, Gravik is on the Skrull Council and High Council, and Talos was kicked off. So, they go to find this portion and question him. While this is happening, Gaia first she meets a new settler for their new city, which I just had it. New Skrullos, that's it. And they're even growing their own, their native fruit, and because they live in these power plants, because radiation doesn't affect them the way it affects humans. Now, considering the map they showed of all the off the books nuclear power plants that Russia has, ooh, I'm gonna sneeze, and oh, excuse me, and it looked like it covered the country. So if there's so many power plants, then I think they said that there's 30,000 Skrulls right now, and this particular settlement has 500. So I don't know, I didn't do the math before this, but there's plenty of nuclear power plants, not necessarily just in Russia, but there are abandoned nuclear power plants, so why not just let the Skrulls live there? And that way they're not taking over the damn planet, but they have their settlements. But instead of, doing something fairly reasonable, or at least start that conversation. I don't know if that conversation was even started, let alone next. But, so they go to talk to this portion, and Gaia was given these orders by Gravik's lieutenant to get these dirty bombs from him. So he sends, and the lieutenant sends Gaia. And, oh yes, and before that, we do see, when she is showing Beto around, we do see her go and witness one of the warriors shapeshift into one of the humans that they've taken, and how they also take their mind, so they're believable as who they're pretending to be. Now, there was also a quick clip of Rhodey telling the president that both Hill and Fury have gone AWOL. Fury has left the Saber Station, which, okay, first off, if he wasn't supposed to leave the Saber space station, that would be him going AWOL. How is it that Maria and Talos don't know that? Because it sounded like they were annoyed that he never left the station. I mean, if this was something that would be a treasonable offense, don't you think that they would know that? So people were already questioning before this episode whether Rhodey is a Skrull. And with this little bit, I'm going to say yes, I agree, he's a Skrull. Unless there's some sort of bait and switch, and we'll get to that in a moment. Or maybe they're trying to make it that Fury has, all the people that he thinks are friends or a good chunk, are actually Skrulls. Well, Talos is definitely a Skrull, but he's a good Skrull. So, Maria sees Gaia coming out. Now, at this point, she doesn't know who Gaia is. And so she's following Gaia. And I don't know, just opening a door and walking after her in a dark area I realized she had her gun drawn, but she drew her gun already when she was in the tunnel. But anyway, Gaia makes short work of her, and while that's happening, Talos and Nick Fury are talking to Porish, and Porishin doesn't want to talk. And Fury is threatening him with a gun. And then Talos starts fighting him because he knows he's a Skrull. And Porishin knows who Talos is. So they're fighting, and Talos seems like he's getting his ass handed to him. And Fury ends up shooting Porishin. And Talos is in shock and kind of upset because he told him not to interfere. Which, Talos is having a similar issue that Fury is. People are seeing him as old and not in step and blah, blah, blah. He even asked Fury about what did you buy for your midlife crisis? The Avengers. So now Gaia had also mentioned to this Beto that if the warriors stay in their personas long enough, that it becomes almost impossible for not just humans but other Skrulls to figure out who's real and who's a Skrull. So that's going to further a theory I have at the end of this episode. So Talos gets to Gaia, and he informs her, because they invoke her mother, and this is the first time she finds out that her mother is dead, and Talos is trying to convince her to give him the dirty bombs, which she will not do. And this is the first time, as I said, she's learning about her mother's death. And he heavily implies that Gravik had something to do with it. Now, whether it was just that she got involved in one of his schemes, as in she was trying to stop one of his schemes, or if he was more hands-on in going after her, but it's left Gaia shaken. So she gives the dirty bombs to Gravik and Pagan, I think is his name. And you can see she's upset. And they ask her, if she ran into problems, and she did mention that there was an issue, but she didn't mention, oh yeah, my dad tried to stop me. So even though she is helping Gravik, it seems like she also doesn't want her father to get hurt either. That she's trying to protect her father, but at the same time, she believes in this cause. And the fact that the lieutenant told Gravik that he is the cause doesn't bode well for him. Doesn't bode very well for Gravik either, but mostly for the lieutenant. Something bad is going to happen to him. But anyway, so the lieutenant informs Gravik that Nick Fury is on Earth, and Gravik doesn't seem like he could be bothered to care at all. And Gaia is hearing this. She's listening in. as she's talking to Beto. So, she then goes and meets up with her father and tells him about the attack and tells him what's going to happen. Now, given what ends up actually happening, I don't know if Gravik doesn't fully trust her and told her something that we were to go and tell Talos and not tell her the truth, or if this was Gaia's idea to kind of tell her father what's happening, but kind of not. So, they go to the square where there's going to be the attack, and they're looking for. They're trying to keep an eye on the backpacks with the infrared X's. Now, I'm not quite sure why. It was implied that only Nick Fury was wearing those special glasses. And I don't know why. That makes no sense to me. So, unless they were just showing it through his eyes, but that they all had those glasses, because that would make no sense. Otherwise, how would they know who to look for? But anyway. So they're chasing after the couriers, and Gaia's completely forgotten. Okay? So she's completely forgotten, which is probably going to be a mistake, but whatever. So as they're running around, Fury sees this girl, the girl that he saw from that night when he was kidnapped by MI6, and he's following her, and she has this huge ass ball. So he's following her, and she makes a couple of shapeshifts, one being into the woman who was on the park bench making out with someone. So it's obvious that there were two Skrulls who were following him the entire time. Now, who that second Skrull is, we do not know, but that would explain why Gravik wasn't surprised to find out that Fury was on Earth, because he knew already. And amongst the confusion, Fury lost track of Gravik. Gravik shapeshifts into Fury and shoots Hill. And she's apparently dead. And I say apparently because remember, Gaia did say that if you're in their shell long enough, other Skrulls cannot identify you. Now, what if Gravik did not know that this wasn't the real Maria Hill? Now, I'm just basing this off of that one line. Plus, when they started shooting the show, there was a behind-the-scenes look where Gaia, Nick Fury, and Maria Hill were meeting up, and she was hugging Maria Hill, which obviously none of that happened here. So I am guessing that for some reason Gravik did not know that was a Skrull. And either that, or he's so full of himself, he thinks that he's going to destroy, or just simply he thinks he's going to destroy Fury by killing Maria Hill, that he's willing to kill one of his own people. But all he did was piss Fury off. He is so mad right now. And that is probably the worst thing Gravik could have done. Because Fury's mind might have not have been completely in the game before. It's completely there now. So, yeah. Gravik is going to get his ass handed to him. Obviously, it's going to take till the end of the show for that to happen, but he's going to get his ass handed to him. So yeah, we didn't see Maria turn back into a Skrull, so I could be completely wrong, but it would be interesting if both Rhodey and Maria Hill turn out to be Skrulls, that it's really a matter of who does Nick Fury trust. So, let's see what else, if I'm missing anything from this episode that I wanted to go over. I think I covered everything that I wanted to. So, yeah. With that, I will see you in the next video.